Assuming the licensed open carry bill is approved and sent to the governor's desk as it is, will there be a penalty for law enforcement officers who choose to overstep their authority and stop and question those who are lawfully carrying openly?
So we had an amendment that was offered by Representative Dutton, who's actually a Democrat, to try and address this issue. Because currently in the bill there's not anything that will protect us from unlawful stops. And what I have argued from the start is, if we don't have some kind of protection against them just stopping us at will
just
and
randomly.
show me your papers, show me your ID, then essentially we don't have open carry.
We don't have freedom.
Right, because what they're going to do is they're going to set up in places where people are open carrying.
Checkpoints.
And then it's going to be, well, I can't even go along with my day, or I can't freely travel. So if that protection is not in there, and that's kind of the debate that we're having behind the scenes, is whether this amendment stays on there or not. It was authored by Representative Dutton and Matt Rinaldi, and a number of us worked on it behind the scenes, but those are the two guys who mainly did it. So the fight for open carry right now, I believe, is on that specific issue with that amendment.
I think it's leaning more towards that because, you know, with the Art Acevedo rally that we had here at the footsteps of the Austin Police Station just 4 to 5 days ago or so, last Wednesday, I noticed that a lot of the officers themselves seem to be supportive of open carry, and they're not so critical. They're just henchmen. They're just doing their job. They're foot soldiers.
I think from a law enforcement standpoint, the ones that I have talked to, it's been they just want clarity on the issue.
Right.
So, you know, the laws, there's a lot of gray areas right now. They don't know what they can and can't do.
I think if we work with the law enforcement officers, because there have been so many times where when I've worked with them, they're completely understanding. They're not confrontational. They just want to go home to their kids, just like we do.
Right.
They just want to do their job and do the right thing.
Right.
But they get all this pressure, unfortunately, from people like Art Acevedo to do their job the wrong way.
Yeah, it's funny that it comes from the people at the top who aren't actually out in the field dealing with it.
So, will the new law do away with having to present your CHL to law enforcement officers at their request?
Not currently as written, I don't believe.
And will something be done about allowing those who are lawfully licensed from another state to enter into the Capitol with their weapons? Because, as you know, currently those with out-of-state permits aren't allowed to enter into the Capitol.
Right. You know, it wasn't too long ago that we didn't even have metal detectors in this Capitol.
Right.
It was always considered the people's house. And it wasn't until just a few years ago, after an incident out on the front lawn, that somebody fired a round up into the air, apparently.
It's always one ruins it for everybody.
And then everybody lost their liberty.
Well, that's like when A.J. Jefferson, Tom Jefferson, as he's known on Facebook, he actually had his ribs broken out on the front lawn by some DPS troopers, and he didn't even have a gun. He had a pre-1899 curio. You know, it wasn't literally a firearm. It was a weapon.
Right.
And he had his ribs broken for that out on the front lawn and wasn't even trying to enter the building. So I see where you're coming from, that it's really exploded outward from there after that event. So Carlos Solis wants to know, why can he not constitutionally carry as it is right now?
So, you know, obviously I filed HB 195, which is constitutional carry. So I was surprised at how much organic grassroots support for that bill. I mean, it wasn't just like one subsection of the Republican Party or something. We started getting support from all over. We started hearing from people that we had never heard from
Anarchists
before.
and everybody.
And a lot of Democrats, too. Because it's the people who, a lot of the inner city Democrats, okay, they're the ones that can't afford to pay a fee. And they're the ones that, frankly, need more protection than anyone else in some of the neighborhoods.
They're the ones getting mugged and getting robbed. I mean, we actually, myself and my Uncle Ron, his truck was broken into off William Cannon Drive. I was supposed to meet you, I believe, a couple weeks ago, and I was going to pick up some business cards from Staples real quick and then come see you and then go buy a new car so I could go see my daughter more often.
Right.
And we had just went to Wells Fargo, pulled out $3,000 cash so that I could go get the car afterwards. After meeting with you, went into Staples just to pick up, long enough to pick up some business cards, and came out not even 5 minutes later to a smashed windshield, and my diaper bag that I was using that weekend, or that week as a purse, was just gone, and all the money, and my social security card, and my debit card and all these
Wow.
other things. And it's happening here in Austin, here
Sure.
in Texas, in the place that we've always known as the home of the Alamo, the home of liberty and guns and America and freedom in Texas. And it's
Right.
just not that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so why hasn't the bill come out of committee yet?
Because I think what's happening is you're dealing with kind of a behind the scenes fight that the NRA is having with people who truly believe in the Second Amendment. The NRA has traditionally just done one small step at a time and have tended to play the legislative game more than some of the other gun groups. And so what you're seeing behind the scenes in this building is a fight between gun enthusiasts, Second Amendment supporters, and traditional, oh, well, we'll just give them this much
Right.
so they'll be happy and
Appease.
they'll go away.
Appease,
Exactly.
right.
And what I keep telling people, too, especially activists, is you're only going to get from your government what you demand from your government.
Right.
Okay? They're never going to give you more of your liberties back just because they're nice people.
Right.
They're only going to give us back what
If
they've
we
already
kick
taken.
and scream and holler.
Exactly. And so, there's been a lot of people who haven't wanted to take that vote, and they've depended on the leadership here in the Texas House to protect them from the constitutional carry vote because they don't want to be held accountable in the primaries.
So Alan Meyer says, tell you that you did a good job against the Third Reich, because we know that's what they are. Susan Cook says that she wishes that you were her representative and tell you that you rock. We got some great shout outs from people. Esmeralda Valague says, you're spanking the rhinos. And personally for me, you remind me of Sarah Palin when she was ousting people on both sides of the aisle following the oil disaster, the Exxon Valdez disaster up there in Alaska. And she was getting rid of corruption on both sides of the aisle. And that's why she lost so much support, and the media absolutely tore her apart
Sure.
as they're doing you. But speaking of the NRA, as you just addressed, Esmeralda Valague wants to know, she noticed in your Wikipedia profile that the NRA only gave you a 92% favorable rating.
Mm-hmm.
And does anybody know, or do you know any reason why you may have lost those 8 points?
Yeah, so they have a point system that rewards people who actually, like, you can only get, and I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe the highest you can get is an A, which is what I got, unless you sponsor one of their pieces of legislation. Okay? So, because I
And
did
theirs are
not
normally more
file...
restrictive.
Right. So because I didn't file their legislation, which of course they didn't ask me to,
Right.
then I couldn't get a higher amount. But I can guarantee you this, they cannot point to one time that I have ever voted against gun rights.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
I was looking in your history.
There was one time where there was some differing opinions on the Second Amendment. There was an amendment last session that dealt with giving elected officials the right to open carry anywhere they wanted to. And what I said is, I would like to do this, but not for just one select group of people.
Right.
We're not going to allow ourselves
choose.
special privileges over the people who are essentially our bosses, the people that we serve,
That
our constituents.
that put you in office, right?
So I voted against that because I'm not okay with,
picking and choosing rights.
right, and creating different classes of citizens, where the elected class is above the ones that they serve.
So, totally off topic here, moving away from the whole constitutional carry thing. Actually, John Galt is
Mhm.
what he wants to go by. Wants to know what your position is on the Texas toll roads right now. And, I was telling John Galt in conversation, I take toll road 1 for most of my trip to Austin back and forth between Fort Hood and Temple. And he said, yeah, that sounds good, except we shouldn't have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take a toll road because I don't want to pay for it. And so I noticed that you had done some work regarding that before. So what's your position on that?
Well, what I have a problem with is double taxation.
Because you already pay for the
We're
roads.
paying for the gas tax every time that we put a gallon of gas into our car. We're paying through them when we buy a new car, and we pay the sales tax and whatnot. So we're already paying for the road once. And what has happened here in Texas, it's a shame. It's mainly happened under Governor Perry when he was here is when it all started, was rather than putting the money up front into our infrastructure on roads, they literally gave over these projects to foreign businesses
Trans-Texas
from other
corridor.
Yep, from other countries. So in the middle of my district, House District 92 up in HEB, we have a road that was free and that was paid for, 183, that they then came back to expand, and to do so, they gave it over to a company called Centra, which is owned
Centra, I was
from
very
Spain.
familiar with that. From Spain, yeah.
Which
and
is
they were
unbelievable
gonna do
to
from
me.
Canada to Mexico, a toll road. And the reason I was so familiar with it, I actually went to town hall meetings at 13 years old, yelling about it, because all three different options that they had proposed, they were having town hall meetings at libraries and stuff to try and convince the old farmers to give up their piece of land and,
Right.
just give up this land, it'll be good for you. Yet every single different proposed route that they had, our land was going to be absolutely just wiped off the map, and they would say, "Oh, well, we're going to pay you fair market value." Yeah. So according to you, my
Right.
land's only worth $800 an acre, but according to me, it's $2,000 an acre
Right.
because I fertilized it, I seeded it, it's highway frontage, and
Yep. And of course, the value is going to go up too once you build a freeway
Exactly.
and businesses come in and whatnot. But no, it's very frustrating because I will say this though, I'm not against toll roads in theory, but it has to be all private money.
Yeah.
They have to go to each individual landowner, and they have to piece together the property and offer to buy it from them. I don't believe in government coming in with eminent domain and forcing these people to sell and then making us pay for it twice.
Well, and it goes back to eminent domain is literally just thug. It's legalized thuggery. That's
Right.
all it comes back to. So this is a personal question
Sure.
for me. So I am adamantly against abortion. I've never been heavily religious, but I respect science. I respect the fact that a human being, from the moment it becomes a human being, from the moment the egg and the sperm fuse, it has its own unique strand of DNA. It has its own unique set of fingerprints. I remember when
Right.
I was 6 weeks pregnant, how excited and happy I was that this itty bitty little jelly bean was inside of me and was going to be,
Yeah.
was not going to be, was my daughter.
Right.
And I was raped at 14, and I remember thinking, oh well, if I had become pregnant, I could not kill that child because it's not the child's fault that the father was a monster.
Right.
And so what are you going to be doing in regards to abortion and abortion laws in Texas going forward?
So we're doing a couple of different things. I'll be honest with you, I haven't been happy with the session from a pro-life standpoint because, again, Joe Strauss, the current speaker, has stopped any pro-life legislation from coming to the floor. But we passed the 20-week ban, HB2, last time after the famous Wendy Davis filibuster.
Right.
And this time we're attacking it from a couple of different angles, but one of them is through insurance. So if I'm pro-life, the government can't force me to pay for an insurance policy that also subsidizes abortions. So that's one of the ways that we're going about it.
That's
And look,
actually very smart.
people come into my office all the time and they're asking for different things all over the spectrum, whether it's money or what have you. And to everyone, their one issue is the most important thing. It is what government should be dealing with. But here's what I have said from the beginning of my campaigns and while I've been down here. The proper role of government is for us to come down here and protect life, liberty, and property rights.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's what we're here to do.
That's what you're
And
employed for.
everything else is extra on the top, and we've probably done a bad job of dealing with those things. So we're just going to continue the fight and keep fighting for liberty and really trying to educate people and bring them into the movement because we simply don't have the numbers right now that we need to truly get through the liberty agenda and restoring the Constitution.
Just real quick before I go ahead and let you go, because I know you got to get out on the floor and
Right.
get cracking. What is your view on Joe Strauss? I know there's a lot of controversy there about him not wanting to address your issues when you've called him out about, hey, why aren't you supporting this, this, and this? Why are you being a rhino? Why are you hemming and hawing?
Right.
So, I mean...
So it's nothing personal against him as a person,
Right.
okay? But I am going to fight tooth and nail against anyone who is hindering our ability to advance liberty in Texas and to free up this state the way the Founding Fathers intended. Joe, in my opinion, has empowered people, specifically committee chairs and special interests and lobbyists to the point where someone like myself is not getting anything done. I mean, they have tried to silence us. So one of my biggest missions of this entire session was point out the hypocrisy, take a light and shine it in every corner down here, and make these people go on the record every chance that we get, so that the people back home can hopefully educate themselves and get rid of these people who are campaigning as one thing and then coming down here and doing another.
And, you know, it's like you said earlier, Wendy Davis, a lot of people don't realize that Wendy Davis, when she was campaigning, to get in good with the Catholics down south, all the illegal immigrants and the Hispanic voters, she said that she was pro-life. Actually lied about all those things.
Yeah.
I'm sure you already know that well. Thank
Yeah,
you so much
absolutely.
for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you doing this interview
Yeah.
with me.